20% of all the oil that powers the entire world passes through a stretch of water so narrow, you could swim across it in under an hour. One decision, one missile, one blocked ship, and the lights in your city could start flickering within weeks. And almost nobody outside of government briefing rooms is talking about what happens if it closes. By the end of this video, you will understand exactly why a waterway most people cannot find on a map is the single most important piece of geography on the planet right now, and why it affects the price of everything in your life, from the petrol in your car to the electricity keeping your phone charged tonight. Stay with this, because the last part is the piece nobody tells you. The Strait of Hormuz sits between Oman and Iran at the southeastern edge of the Persian Gulf. At its narrowest point, it is just 33 kilometers wide. That is roughly the distance between central London and its outer suburbs. And through that tiny corridor flows approximately 21 million barrels of oil every single day. To put that in perspective, that is more oil than the United States, China, India, Japan, and Germany consume combined, moving through a channel you could cross in a motorboat on a calm afternoon. The countries feeding into it read like a who's who of global energy: Saudi Arabia, Iraq, Kuwait, the UAE, Qatar, Bahrain. Every tanker leaving those ports has one exit. 1. There is no alternative route that makes economic sense. No pipeline large enough to replace it. No shortcut that does not add weeks and billions of dollars to every journey. This is what strategists call a chokepoint. And the Strait of Hormuz is not just any chokepoint. It is the chokepoint. The one that, if closed, would send shockwaves through every economy on Earth within 72 hours. Now here is where it gets uncomfortable. The country that sits on the northern shore of the strait, with military installations, missile batteries, and a naval fleet permanently positioned there, is Iran. A country under heavy international sanctions. A country with a documented history of threatening to shut the strait down during moments of political tension. A country that, in 2019, seized a British-flagged oil tanker in these exact waters. Iran cannot necessarily close the strait permanently. The US Fifth Fleet is headquartered in Bahrain specifically to prevent that. But Iran does not need to close it permanently to cause catastrophic damage. All it needs to do is make it feel dangerous. Because the moment shipping insurers decide these waters are too risky, tankers stop moving voluntarily. No blockade required. This happened in the 1980s during what was called the Tanker War, when Iraq and Iran attacked each other's oil infrastructure and commercial vessels in the Gulf. Insurance rates for tankers in the region spiked by over 300% almost overnight. The world scrambled. And that was before the global economy was as interconnected as it is today. Think about what the world looked like in 2022 when Russia restricted gas supplies to Europe. Heating bills doubled. Inflation climbed. Governments fell under pressure. Ordinary people felt it at the grocery store, at the pump, in their monthly budgets. The Strait of Hormuz is that scenario, multiplied by 4. And the vulnerability is not just military. It is geological, logistical, and deeply human. The waterway is split into 2 lanes, each roughly 3 kilometers wide. One for inbound tankers. One for outbound. These ships, some of the largest moving objects ever built by human hands, are navigating channels so tight that a single grounded vessel or a coordinated swarm of small boats could functionally paralyze traffic for days. In January 2024, Houthi attacks on Red Sea shipping routes already diverted dozens of vessels away from the Suez Canal. Shipping costs from Asia to Europe jumped by over 200% in a matter of weeks. That single regional disruption rippled into delayed goods, rising prices, and rerouted supply chains globally. The Red Sea is not even the Strait of Hormuz. If the Red Sea caused that, picture what a genuine closure of Hormuz would do. Here's what is almost never discussed in mainstream coverage. The countries most exposed are not the United States or Europe. Not anymore. The United States has dramatically increased domestic oil production over the past decade. It has strategic petroleum reserves. It has alternatives it can activate, however painfully, in a crisis. The countries most exposed to a Hormuz closure are Japan, South Korea, India, and China. Nations that import between 60 and 90% of their energy and depend on Gulf oil to keep their factories, hospitals, and cities running. A sustained closure would not just slow their economies. It could destabilize governments. It could trigger cascading regional crises that pull in powers from every direction. And this is where the geopolitics becomes almost impossible to untangle, because China, which needs Gulf oil desperately, is also Iran's largest trading partner and one of its few remaining diplomatic lifelines. The United States, which patrols the strait to keep it open, is locked in strategic competition with China. Saudi Arabia, which needs the strait to stay open for its own revenues, is simultaneously negotiating security deals with both Washington and Beijing. Every major power needs the strait open. But every major power has competing interests in the region. And sitting in the middle of all of it, controlling the geography, is Iran. This is not a problem anyone has solved. It is a problem everyone is managing, carefully, quietly, and with the full knowledge that one miscalculation changes everything. Now pull back for a moment and sit with what this actually means for daily life. Every time you fill up your car and wince at the price, part of what you are paying for is the geopolitical risk premium baked into oil because of where it comes from and how fragile its journey is. Every time a product you ordered arrives late or costs more than it used to, somewhere in that chain is a shipping route, a tanker, an energy cost that connects back to places like this. The world you live in, the prices you pay, the stability you depend on, none of it exists independent of geography. It is all connected through choke points, corridors, and decisions made by governments in countries most people cannot find on a map. The Strait of Hormuz is 33 kilometers wide. It is older than every nation that depends on it. And right now, today, it is functioning. Tankers are moving. Lights are on. The system is holding. But the reason it is holding is not because the problem is solved. It is because enough powerful actors are motivated enough to keep it from breaking. That motivation is not guaranteed. It never was. And that is the part nobody tells you when they talk about energy security, globalization, and why the world sometimes feels more fragile than it looks from the outside. You are not imagining it.